Okay, so we talked about the basics, the arrangement of a data set, the definition of a data set, variables, values, about the equivalent terms for rows and columns. But what about types of variables? That's a very, very important thing. It is the foundation of many forthcoming concepts. It is like if you don't know the type of the data set, you cannot choose the proper tool. Let's say that our tools are, we have a screwdriver and we have a plier, let's say. So these are two different tools. If you don't know the thing that we want to do, if you don't know the material that we have and the thing that we want to do, then you cannot choose the proper tool. Or you will choose a tool that is improper, that is not suitable for this situation. So the type of variable is like, let me clean this. The type of variable is like the type of material that we are going to work with. Whether we are going to work with a wood or wood sheet or a metal sheet or any fabric or something like this, another substance, these will dictate the tools that we need to take from our toolbox. This is exactly the same case for the types of the variables. We need to understand the types of the variables, get comfortable with them, and be very good at detecting the types of the variables for any new data set. So, considering all this introduction in mind, let's go through the types of the variables. In our module, once again, this is our module, we have 4 types: categorical, numerical, date time, and the 4th is textual. So let's go and let's study and learn each of these types. Categorical. Categorical is a type of variable when the variable has a few repetitive values. This is the first criterion. And it tends, so the variable tends to categorize the items into a few groups. So this is the second one. And fewer groups comparing to what? Comparing to the original number of records. So for instance, we have a data set of customers of a fashion retail, 10,000 customers, so 10,000 records. And then we have a variable called size of the dress, and let's say that it is small, medium, and large. So it is like S, S, M, M, L, and repeating these 3 values. So there are a few repetitive values. This is the first condition that is met. Second, the variable tends to categorize items, here customers, into a few groups. Actually, there are 3 groups. Those who buy small, those who buy medium, and those who buy large. So 10,000 cases would be lumped up into a group, 3 groups, S, M, L. So the first condition is met, the second condition is met, and therefore this is a categorical variable. Another example is continents in geography. What about a numerical variable? What about a numerical variable? So numerical variable, when the variable has numerical values, this is the first criterion, and arithmetic operations are meaningful, at least most of them. This is the second one. Example, students' heights. So height measures 170, 164, 183, Well, these are numbers. The first criterion is checked, and we can subtract them. If someone is 200 centimeters, he or she is twice of a person with 100 centimeter height. So the arithmetic operation seemingly checked, and therefore this is a numerical variable. Again, there are two criteria. What about date time? Well, let me change the color. A variable that shows date and or time, especially in a specific format like this. Such variables are oftentimes have a standard pattern to present different components: day, month, year, minute, hours, etc. And this you can see that 28th of December 2021, and this is exactly the same date but with time and with time zone. So it's very easy to detect these time date variables. It's not something difficult. Okay, you have seen a zillions of examples. But what about the textual variables? These are more like comments, text comments. They don't want to categorize. So these are comments, let's say, more like comments. They don't want to categorize records into fewer groups. They don't. This is very, very important. Nor they intend to be meaningful when arithmetic operations are applied to them. So there are two, once again, criterion. These criterions are a little bit different. So they are in this way that arithmetic operations are not meaningful to them, mostly, and they don't want to categorize records into fewer groups. Let's come back to our example that we use for the fashion retail. We said we have 10,000 customers. Let's assume that we have one column here that is the comments of our sellers. Okay, seller agent about these customers. So for one, it is a very good customer. Second one, it was very difficult to deal with. The third one is she had a very beautiful baby. The fifth one is something else, and so on and so forth. So these do not tend to categorize our customers. It's not meaningful to actually do arithmetic with them. And these are text. These are pure text. Or let's assume that this is an ID column. This is first, this is second customer, 10,000th customer. So the ID column is also mathematical operation is not meaningful with it, because what is the division of the third customer to the second customer? I mean, it's 3 over 2, 1.5, doesn't mean anything. Okay, the subtraction means the number of customers in between, but then the division or multiplication is not very meaningful. So the second criterion is met. Are these numbers tend to categorize records into fewer groups? No, actually we have 10,000 unique values. So even if you consider every single of them as a group, it won't lump up the customers into fewer groups. So ID is one of the examples of a textual variable. Okay, these are the four main categories. We have subcategories as well. For categorical, we have A, ordinal, and B, nominal. So ordinal is when there is an inherent order of values. Let's say S, M, L, XL, XXL. There is an inherent order. This is why they are called ordinal. Nominal are just names, are just labels. Let's say female, male, non-binary, etc. What about numerical values? Well, we have for the numerical discrete and continuous. So discrete variables when there is no meaningful value between two consecutive values. So either you have 0 child, 1 child, 2 children. You cannot have anything between 0 and 1, 1.5 or 1.32. Continuous variables do not have this restriction. And this is the subcategorization of the variable types. The last thing that you have to remember. So be sure that you are very comfortable with the categorization and the subcategories.